My name is Ginger Sandell and I'm a virtual art teacher. I studied for 8 years at the Academy of Art University and earned my Master's of Drawing and Painting there. And I'm here to share some of the formal training that I've received. In this class, it's a 5-week class. We will have a demo and a lecture each week for 5 weeks, and then we'll work on a painting together. And every week after the class, after you've worked on your art, you can email me and I'll look at it and give you a formal critique, the way I was taught at the Academy of Art, and ways to improve your painting. Another thing we do in this class is it's student driven. In other words, I want to know what your goals as an artist are and how I can help improve your art so that you can get to the next level. And everybody's art is different and original. However, there are some tried and true rules to art. Color theory is very important to know how to mix the colors. Also, the compositional lay-in. Now right here, what you see me doing, I did a charcoal sketch, and I have a reference photo of this waterfall. Actually, I'm working from a couple of reference photos. And in the class, I will send my students the reference photo so they can watch that. They'll have that on their own computer. So this is called, after the compositional sketch, which what I did in charcoal, I start the initial color lay-in. A lay-in is done with a lot of energy. It's done quickly, and you cover the whole canvas. Often artists, would want to paint the details first, and the way I was taught is more like the painting is a sculpture. So you do the big energetic lay-ins, you get your energy down on the painting, and then you start modeling, color, and then finally there's refinement. So a painting like this, we've shortened this video down to 20 minutes, but this painting took about 4 painting sessions. And then the last one, I may have just done a few final revisions. It's always good with your art to set it aside for a while, take a look at it before you're completely finished, and then you can make any final revisions. So we're just going to play some music for a while here, and I'll get back to a voiceover after you watch this. Greens are an interesting color to mix. There's many different kinds of greens. I'm using sap green and phthalo green. Sap green is so you can see I did more work off screen on this. So this is the second painting session. So the canvas is completely covered now. And now I'm going into the modeling stage. And remember, you hold your brush way back. You're not way up on it like you're drawing. You're not drawing, you're painting. And you want the paint to have properties that are exciting, and you want your marks to be varied. So just let you guys watch for a bit. So when I studied at the Academy of Art, like I said, it was 8 years, and each class was a semester, and we had a weekly assignment due. Some of the longer paintings, we'd have, 4 weeks, like a midterm project or a final, and you would submit weekly to your professor and have them look over your work and give you room for improvement. It's a really good skill-based learning, and it's online. It's also in person. If you live in the Bay Area, you can attend the academy, but I did mine online because I live in Hawaii and I was also working a full-time job at the time. But I really enjoyed it. There was a lot of community with the other artists. We went through the basics. The first drawing class, we thought we knew how to draw, but the teacher was like a drill sergeant. It was so hard. So yeah, I learned a lot. My art really developed after studying. And one thing I learned, the color theory was very, very helpful. And here you can see I'm darkening the values. So I'm doing all the darks at once. When I have the color on my brush, and this is, I'm using asphaltene and some sienna in this color here. Maybe a little bit of ochre. And just, you always want to, in oil painting, after you lay everything in, you kind of start with your darks. And then you save your darkest dark for the end, and you save your lightest light for the end. And you work mostly on the mid-tones. And when I was finished with this painting, the dark was too dark. I had to go back in and glaze it because it was the eye was getting caught in between the white and the black. So again, you want your painting to have an entrance way, a focal point. You want to have leading lines going into the focal point. You don't want to have things going out of the page that distract from the focal point. So it's my green is phthalo green, sap green, umber. I've got some asphaltene in there, some sienna, because water is not all just one color. I use a palette knife and brush, and you can see that I let the brush just kind of dance across the canvas. This is the modeling stage, so we're not into refinement yet. We're just building the layers of the painting. So a little bit more about me. I'm in 4 galleries here on the Big Island, and I've shown internationally online. I've also shown in person in New York and California, and I've had also some exhibits in Florida. So I've been painting since the early 80s, except I stopped for a few years, several years, because I needed to work my day job and raise my 4 children. So I got back to painting in 2010 and was doing plein air painting with some artist friends, and the paintings just really came pouring out because I'd kind of been away from my art for so long. In the background there's an abstract and a volcano painting. The volcano painting is actually one of my earlier works when I was completely self-taught. So here's the green palettes. You can see I've got some orange in there. I've got some alizarin crimson, some phthalo blue, some lemon yellow. So every color I'm mixing has 2 or 3 or 4 or more colors in it. So I don't just take the colors from the tube and just pour on all this saturated color. There is saturation in this painting, but I save a lot of that for the rainbow, because this title of this painting is Rainbow Falls. So what they taught at the Academy of Art and is that you really move your brush around all over the canvas. You don't just focus on one little area until you're in the refinement stage. And then another important thing is to stand back from your work. Do that quite often, actually. So in the class, I will put the URL at the end. It's a 5-week class. It starts October 1st on Sundays at 12. So Sundays at 12, starting October 1st. It'll be an hour and a half long. And you also can email me questions, as long as email me the work in progress every week. So I will keep the classes very small so that it's almost like a private class. Although there's other people in the Zoom room, nobody has to see your work if you're shy. Some people don't want anyone to look at their work when they're painting. They're shy about it. So you don't have to. You watch the demo, paint along with me. We also record the class so that you can look at it later. I find I've learned a lot by watching other master artists paint. Not that I'm a master artist, I have a master's degree, but I have watched many artists paint, and I have found the teachers who are the most helpful are those that will actually explain what they're doing. There's some really great artists out there, and you watch the video and they don't say anything, and you're trying to figure out how on earth they accomplished that. So I try to make my class a little different. There's a really good teacher I've studied with. His name is Craig Nelson, and he's the director of the Academy of Art. And he's a great artist, and he's a wonderful teacher, and I've learned a lot from him. And he talks while he paints, which is in itself difficult to do, because sometimes you really have to concentrate on what you're doing. But in the virtual class, you can ask questions. Most likely, you put them in the chat, and then I take a break and we go through the questions. The other thing I want every student to do is to email me their goals and their learning objectives for the class, so that I can make sure I meet those goals. I have a private student who I teach weekly, and she really wanted to learn more about how to mix colors, because they were all coming out very saturated and disjointed. You really need color harmony in a painting, and that can only be achieved by understanding color theory. There's another thing that they taught us at the Academy that's really important, and that's atmospheric perspective. So in the foreground, you want more detail, you want more saturation. In the background, you've got to mute things. So here in this painting, I haven't muted the background too much yet. I've lightened the greens, but they will be lightened even more as it progresses. And then of course I'll develop the foreground more and put more detail as we get into refinement. And then lastly, there's the rainbow. And then even after that, it took me a few days analyzing the painting before I totally considered it done. And now it's hanging in an exhibit in Kailua Kona. So happy about that. Everybody paints differently. I'm showing how I was taught at the Academy of Art. So this is the finished painting. As you can see, I've got a lot of detail and color in the foreground, and I've kind of made the background more, I used a lot of glazing, which I'll teach in my class. I use both opaque and translucent oils. It's a style I've just recently developed. And this is the painting we did in my last class. So the one that we're going to paint in this class is on the website, and I will put the URL for the website. And what you do is you click on the image and it takes you to more details, and there's a supply list and everything. Thank you. Hope to see you.